Zimbabwe is in crisis mode. It may not appear so in the foreground, but in the background there is a war raging on, a war for the heart and soul of the nation. My name is Ngobani Zondo and I am a prophet of the Most High God. The Lord God Almighty is concerned about the events that are happening in Zimbabwe, and therefore He has sent me, His servant, Ngobani Zondo, in my capacity as His prophet to convey this message from the King of Kings to all the Zimbabweans, and in particular the certain group of leadership that I am going to mention in here. The first people that the Lord is talking to is the President of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Emmerson Mnangagwa, his Vice President, Constantine Chiwenga, and his government. Also, the Lord also has got words as well directed to the Zimbabwe Defense Forces Army Commander Philip Valerio Sibanda, also the Air Marshal Ellison Moyo. Also, the Central Intelligence Organization will start with the Minister of State Security in the President's Office, Mr. Owen Ngube, Director General of the Central Intelligence Organization, Isaac Moyo, Deputy Director General Gacha Mazi Tulela, Brigadier General Retired Walter Dafumane. Also, the Lord is also directing this message to the Zimbabwe Republic Police Head, Commissioner General of Police, Concrete Thandabantu Goodwin Matanga, and his deputies, and also the Ministry of Home Affairs, the parent Ministry of the Police. Also, the Lord is addressing to the prison services. There we have got Commissioner General of Prison and Correctional Services, Commissioner General M.C.N. Chihomvo. Also, the organizations that the Lord is going to be dealing with is the ZANU-PF, the ruling party, MDC, and all the other political parties in Zimbabwe. Those are the first group that the Lord is dealing with, and the second group is the rest of the Zimbabweans. This message comes because there is a concern generally in the presence of God concerning Zimbabwe. So I will clarify as I go. My name is Ngobani Zondo once again. For those of you that follow my channel, you would be very much aware that we have been making prophetic videos where the Lord is sending messages to the Army General, Mr. Valerio Sibanda, and you're aware that I'm not going to go back to what the Lord said, but there is an anger of the Lord concerning that place, concerning the things that are happening there. The Holy Spirit said to me, going once, going twice, third time you won't be lucky. So I didn't know what the Lord meant by that, and I said in my other video that the way that the Lord operates with me, I know if He says something which is partly revealed, after a couple or 3 days or so, He will show me even more stuff. So I'm here to clarify more on that according to what the Lord has opened my eyes to see. And also in another video I said the Lord showed me cars. There was a group of cars, and then He was saying these are the Central Intelligence Officers, these are their cars. He says go and tell them that I am God, I can destroy them in one day. Okay, so I didn't know what God meant. Why does He want to destroy them in one day? What have they done that is wrong? I do not know. So I kept on pressing on. The Lord is pressing on me as well to deliver this word to you. So as I was pondering on that, the Lord led me to a certain video on the internet that is going to shed in some light that made God speak some more. This is a video on from a channel on YouTube called HSTV Live Zim. HSTV Live Zim. The reporter there is Blessed Mhlanga. He was having a conversation with Professor Jonathan Moyo, and I will play you some of the audio from Professor Jonathan Moyo, and I will tell you what the Lord told me as I heard the professor talking. So we're gonna listen to some snippets, that the Lord made me listen to. This here, this video is entitled "Zimbabwe: A Military State, the Army, Politics, and Power" with Professor Jonathan Moyo. Okay, let's just listen to the professor for a second or so.
So, in the liberation struggle, you had the liberation forces on the one hand. They were the most important, decisive in terms of the intervention. On the other hand, they were fighting the Rhodesian forces, security, military forces. They too were the most important factor. So when Zimbabwe then becomes independent, the dominant force, military, and especially in terms of ZANU-PF. I mean, the most important reference, I mean, there are many reference points in the liberation struggle, but arguably the most important one is the Mgagawa Declaration of 1975. And that declaration was by armed people, a political declaration. It was not like a charter for human rights, for freedom, to ask ourselves what is it that we want to achieve in an independent Zimbabwe. It was how the answer they gave themselves was by the barrel of the gun. And then the politicians who came into the picture, broadly defined, but in particular, President Robert Mugabe, were literally, for want of a better word, hired by the guerrillas, armed guerrillas. So the army.
Okay, pausing there, we're going to carry on. We see that Jonathan Moyo is specifically saying that the way that Zimbabwe got its independence was through the army and the political class, including Robert Mugabe and others. He says, to put it in other words, they were hired by the military to be the political front in this new Zimbabwe. The reason why I want us to learn this thing is because God took me back to the roots. Say, son, you need to know where this thing begins and what this thing really is. Okay, so we know that according to the learned professor and other people as well, that the independence came through military means, right? Therefore, God begins to say to me, son, do you now realize that it's not something peculiar to Zimbabwe only, but it is something that is the same all over the world? All nations, all states are established and maintained by the military, not by the pen, but by the gun. The pen is the front for the military. God said to me that this is extremely important to understand, because there is this waging argument in politics. What comes first, the gun or the pen? Well, it's very clear. The country came by the gun. All countries came by the gun. All of them. British colonies, the British itself, the Americans, everybody. It is the gun that establishes a nation. So here's the reason why God had me to name these people: the Valerio Subanda of the National Army, the Air Marshal Ellison Moyo, the Central Intelligence Organization Isaac Moyo. We've got T.G. Matanga and MCN Chihovu. God said to me, son, tell the Zimbabweans that the state of Zimbabwe was born militarily and it's going to be maintained militarily. God is not going to change that. That's just a fact that is there everywhere. And all these other organs, like the Air Force, Central Intelligence Organization, the Zimbabwe Republic Police, and the prison services. These are the structures that make a state to be called a state. Without the military, there's no state. Without the central organization, there's no state. Without the police, there's no state. Without the prison services, there's no state. So God says to me, son, this is what a country is. All countries are like that. These organizations are important. Now, you realize something about these organizations, that you don't vote for them. You don't vote for the Air Force, for the Air Marshal or the Army Command. You don't vote for who's going to be leading the Central Intelligence Organization. In fact, the Central Intelligence Organization is worse. They don't even have an audit. You don't even ask how much money they spent on what. So, what God is saying, that these are the organizations that are there, and they're supposed to be there, and they will never be dismantled. Listen to me very carefully. We are leading towards something. And the police, I'm not going to get into details of what is the importance of the police. We all know that. But yeah, let's carry on listening to the learned professor. Hold on. Okay.
Relax. So the army, I think we should perhaps not even over focus on the army, although since 2017 the focus is appropriate. But in Zimbabwe, it has been the security forces. It has been about all of the organs of security that make up what they call the joint command operations, where.
So there Jonathan Moore posts it and calls it the security forces, the joint operation command. God says to me that this joint operations command, this security forces, he says you must understand what they are, what the nature of that beast, you understand, and what it stands for, or what is its purpose. And then God says, let it be clear that the purpose of that beast is to maintain the sovereignty of a state. All states have that beast, which is that security. What does it call it? Security what? Yeah, that joint operation command. It is important for Zimbabwe to have that as a state. Otherwise, we will be stateless. Otherwise, anybody can come and do as they please. So, have that in mind, that these organs are extremely important and they should not be dismantled. And God supports them. And they are also a very important thing. They are not voted into power. These people are there. They are appointed by whoever is constitutionally mandated to appoint them. And God said, understand the nature of the beast, what is its purposes and what it does, because this is what's going to help us in the next coming few minutes as we're going to discuss the problems in Zimbabwe. God showed me that there's a misunderstanding on the nature of this beast, and there's two lessons that we must draw. But let us first listen to this professor first.
The key military people, the liberation forces, so to speak, were deployed across the board to the army, with its parts, the army, the Air Force, to the Central Intelligence Organization, to the police, to the prison services, and so forth. These became dominated by people who came from the liberation struggle, and they worked together as the Joint Operations Command.
Now, Professor, would it be appropriate to say that the power that is held by ZANU-PF lies squarely in the hands of the military? Without the army, ZANU-PF would not be in power.
I think with specific reference to the army, the answer is yes, if the backdrop is the November 2017 military coup. The army has become the most important organ, and ZANU-PF is now subsumed under the army. However, it is important to keep a historical perspective because the army has not always played the role that it is now playing. Previously, it was the Central Intelligence Organization, the CIO, and the Zimbabwe Republic Police, which were the political linchpins, as it were, of the ruling party. What can be said without any fear of being contradicted by the evidence is that ZANU-PF is an expression of the securocrats. That the securocrats in the form of J.O.C always dictated the political landscape and always shaped the national issues. And it depends.
Okay, let us pause in there. That is where now the problem is starting to emanate. The professor is saying that, essentially saying that if you will go further listening, you will state that the military essentially runs ZANU-PF. Meaning that you can have your central committee, women's league, youth league, whatnot. I don't know if I will have the time to play the other parts where he talks about the Politburo, whereby he says that major decisions that you think are made in the Politburo are actually made in the military. It's the military that makes the major decisions of the country, and then the gentleman asked him about the Politburo meetings. Jonathan Moore just says that those are the meetings that were just like an old boys club. They just go there and talk stories. There was nothing real going on, you know. So basically, he makes this point that the army is running ZANU-PF, and he puts it in a way as if it is a wrong thing to do. Okay, it puts it as if it is a wrong thing to do. But remember that we said that during the liberation struggle, the army won the struggle and created a country, and the political class was the front for the military that won. So God made it clear to me that, son, don't confuse this thing. Any country is maintained by the military. You understand? But he said, but for a country to be successful, and he gave me examples of South Africa and examples of the United States, and he looked at how Zimbabwe does it and how the Americans do it. He says, you see, in America, the political power is in the president of that country, right? But the real power, the real strength of the United States is not in the president of the United States. Even in South Africa, Ramaphosa might be the president with the political power, but he does not have all the power. See, these powers are different. There's a political power, there's a military power. But then the question is, who is more powerful, the political or the military power? God gave me a clear answer. I said, son, it is the military. It is not the political power. The political power serves on behalf of the military power. This is how God put it across to me. Now, but then, as I would say, I will also explain that the military power that he means also includes the Central Intelligence Organization, the police, and the prison services, what in Zimbabwe you call J.O.C. So that J.O.C is Zimbabwe. It's not the politicians, it's not ZANU-PF. That is the understanding that God gave me. Say this, tell the Zimbabweans that this is what it is. Actually, say that I must tell you that we are operating a country, like someone operates a board with someone. God tells them that we are operating a country, we are opening and taking out the intestines and trying to see what is a nation, what is inside a nation. So then the Lord concludes and says that these organs, the army, together with the Air Force, with the intelligence organization, with the police and the prison services. He says, son, don't be fooled, don't be lied to. That is Zimbabwe. And I will explain to you what ZANU-PF is. So I think I'm done with the professor right now, but I just needed a reference point because God made me listen to him, and then God will tell me that that is his point of view as a man. But as God, this is where I stand. This is the position, and this is how Zimbabwe can be healed if you understand it from this perspective. Understand? So it's about building the nation. It's about maintaining the sovereignty of a nation. To understand what a nation is, first of all, to understand fundamentally that the nation is not built on the political party. Another thing that if you always follow me, if you watch my videos, I know some guys like Rainbow Africa, the people who watch almost all my videos, they will know this thing. That I've been talking about, God has been talking about a democracy. In the past months, we did videos on what democracy is. Essentially, God teaching us that democracy is not what you see on TV. Okay. The people generally, so God says I must make the Zimbabweans to be very much clear on this part. That we say Zimbabwe is a democratic state, right? They say it all over the world. But what does it mean? Democracy in itself is not really not really what it is. We are told that one man, one vote, and whoever we vote for is gonna be in power. Well, that is true only up to a certain extent. God said to me, son, here's the truth of the matter. The democracy that you people talk about is only true up to a certain extent. And then I asked, Lord, to which extent? He says, to the extent to which the military allows it. He says, because, son, you must remember that the country is not the political parties. The country is the military. Okay. The military and the intelligence and the police. Actually, the military is on top. Then we get the intelligence, whether on top or just right there next to it. Then below it, there we get the police and the prison services. That is a country. That is a country. That is where the power of a state is. If any of those organs of state are diseased, you're going to have a problem in your country. So God says that the Zimbabweans must know that their country is those organs are the country. Now, because us as Zimbabweans, we were not told the truth. We were not told that democracy only works up to the extent at which the joke allows it. And the joke is Zimbabwe. It's not even a joke. Excuse the pun. It's not a joke. The joke is Zimbabwe and nothing else. And you can pempera as much as you want. This is the final verdict that God gave me. Said, son, the joke is Zimbabwe. God is not going to change it. The J.O.C is Zimbabwe. That is what a state is. Finish and clear. The country is founded by the gun, and the country is divided is defined by the gun, not the politics, says the Spirit of the living God. That is the answer that God said I must give you. Because I know that there's a raging question that has been going on in the political circles for a long time. God said that, and tell them that the power is in the military, not in the politics. The politics serves the interests of the military. Even the learned professor told us that Robert Mugabe was hired. And let me pause. I will play the other part where he talks about the meetings in the Politburo. I think it would be nice if you hear from him, and then I will explain what God told me.
The Politburo, President Mugabe, I haven't quite seen the approach that person wants to take, but we have used the Politburo as a graveyard of joke people. when they retire, they get out, and then they will sit in Politburo, and most of them would sit in Politburo, if you recall, as committee members. They would not have a portfolio. They would just be there, and most of the time, they would sit there, enjoy themselves. Politburo meetings in the Mugabe days used to be, for the most part, interesting meetings to be told stories, this joke, and you'll be eating there and so forth. And people use it just to take things off their so forth. But no important decision. It will just be chit chat and so forth and so forth. And
yeah, God said to me something specific there about that. When Jonathan Moyo says that in the Politburo meetings, the joke guys, the military will come there. Or he was saying that these are the retired guys, people who retired from joke. So they will go to the Politburo and become members or something like that. Now, God said to me, even though the professor speaks of it as if in a negative light, then the Holy Spirit said to me, son, yes, the professor is right to think like that because he's a human being. But he says that me as God, let me tell you the perspective. What Robert Mugabe and the joke were doing was correct. He said how? Actually, I knew how because the Lord has been teaching me on these things in the past few months as well about that subject. Because if you want to maintain a country, you're not going to maintain it through votes. The people that maintain the statehood of the state, the state is in the hands of people. This is what God says I must tell Zimbabweans. The state is in the hands of certain people. There are people who actually get to hold the state. Those people are not voted in and out. Those people are in for life. And when they die, they are replaced by whoever is replaced. So you see now, Zimbabwe is a military state. So is the United States. Okay. So is South Africa. So is every country. Every country is a military state. But there's a very important lesson that God wants to give to the military about how to do it properly. And we will get there. So what Robert Mugabe did was a stroke of political genius. Political genius, one, and also nationhood genius. Because as I told you that these guys who hold the country, the military, when they retire, you don't throw them into the dustbin. You put them somewhere where they hold sway and relevance. So Robert Mugabe put them in the Politburo of ZANU-PF. Remember, someone will say, okay, is Zimbabwe a one-party state? Well, essentially, after 1989, because of the Unity Accord, we were more or less a one-party state. Excuse the propaganda. We were one-party state. The propaganda was that we were not a one-party state. MDC can form. So you see, the guys who formed MDC did not understand these fundamental truths about Zimbabwe. Whether they knew them or chose to ignore them or what, I do not know. But the fundamental state was that we were essentially a one-party state. And our party was ZANU-PF. The other parties that were allowed for the sake of propaganda. Okay. For the sake of giving this impression that we are a multi-party state, of which we knew that the other parties will be so small or so insignificant, they can win 1 or 2 seats here and there, but they will really never shake the real core, the power core. But MTC came and shook the core. And by the way, there is nothing wrong with shaking ZANU-PF. But do not shake the core of Zimbabwe. So the military made some mistakes of thinking that if you have the military, right, as the guys who run the country, essentially they own the country, it's theirs. And then they've got their agents, which is the political class. Now, the mistake that they did was that the political class was just ZANU-PF and nobody else. That is the mistake that Zimbabwe did. Well, it worked from 1989. It looked like it worked, but then we did this propaganda of saying that we were not a one-party state, which we really were, but we're not saying it. we were pretending that we are not. Understand? So because we were pretending that we are not, we were propagandizing the people that we are not. So Morgan Tsvangirai was not wrong by forming MDC. And the people of Zimbabwe were not wrong by joining MDC. It so happened that, well, more than half of the country joined MDC, which is a reality that the military miscalculated. There was a miscalculation of the military on the military side, because what they should have done with Morgan Tsvangirai, the MDC, was supposed to orient him within the framework of the nationhood of Zimbabwe, which is that it is a country that is actually gotten by the gun and going to be maintained by the gun under this umbrella of this nationhood. Zimbabwe is LPCT. And MDC would have known that, appreciated that, and then begin to compete on the political level with ZANU-PF. On a political level, not to try to compete with the military. You do not compete with the military if you're a politician. No. It's the same mistake that Chamisa is still making here, competing with the military and the police and the CIA. We don't compete with those organizations, because those organizations are primarily Zimbabwe. They'll always be Zimbabwe. They'll never change. So the political class serves the interest of the military. So the military is the power of the country in the background. God said to me, son, the importance of that military power is that it stays in the background. You understand? It is indeed the power of Zimbabwe. No doubt about that. The CIO, the Central Intelligence Organization, the police, the prison services, those are the backbone of Zimbabwe, says the Spirit of the living God. But he says, but for the state to work properly, they have to know, first of all, that they are the main stakeholders in this thing. They are the holders of the nation, and therefore they must understand and not be egoistic, and understand that for the thing to work, they must be in the background, just like it was done in 1979, or in this, what is called the Chimoa something declaration that Jonathan Moore was talking about. That declaration really essentially puts the power. It actually gives the political role to the politicians. So the politicians are employed by the state, which is the military, intelligence office, police, prison service. This is how every country, it's not something peculiar to Zimbabwe. Every country works like that. But we've got a problem that we have to deal with in Zimbabwe. But everything works like that. Every country works like that. So the political class is not the military class. There's a distinction there. The political class serves at the behest of the military, because the military is holding the country like this. Without the military, there's no country. But the military cannot run a country. God said to me, son, the military cannot run the country. Do you know why? He says, because the nature of the military is a beast that is supposed to be ugly and fearful. It's like, So God says to me, you see, he says to me like me, the Father, God the Judge. Do you know that who is holding the whole creation together? Do you know that this is God, the Father, Almighty, the Judge, who's called the God of war? There is a face of God that all of us are not supposed to see. You understand? And then God said to me, son, in the same breath, there is a face of the military that a country is not supposed to see. But that face is necessary to exist. That face is to be seen by the enemies of the state. Understand? If you become the enemy of the state, that face, the military, the CIO, the police, that ugly, like, rain on them kind of face, is for the enemies of the state that are external. Primarily it is meant for the enemies of the state that are external. But the internal enemies, actually, because the internal enemies are actually part of Zimbabwe. The Zimbabweans, well, there's a difference between an internal enemy of the state, which is a Zimbabwean, is handled differently from an external enemy of the state, which is another state maybe trying to fight Zimbabwe. So we've got the defense forces, we've got our revered Philip Valerio Sibanda and Ellison Moyo there. Hallelujah. Keeping us safe. Those are the people that are keeping us safe from the external enemies of the state. And the internal enemies, the police deals with you, if you're a thief or whatever. The police is a prison service. Then on a higher level is going to be the Central Intelligence Organization. But if your case goes to the army, then it means it's a serious case. It means a serious case. But that ugly face is not really meant to be seen. I mean, the ugliest face that a child of Zimbabwe must see is the police in the street. But it's a light. It's just this guy who's a little bit ugly. But the most ugly of them all is the military. And God created it that way for a purpose. That is how states are built. So as I said, the ugliest is the military. The least ugliest is that policeman there walking in the streets carrying a baton stick. Just to put you in order. Just not to throw litter in the streets. Just put the house in order. Do you understand? So then where were we? Let's not detour too much and get lost. I've got that problem of getting lost. All right. So we are saying that the military is the most important, right? The military there on top, and this state, these organs, CIOs, police, and prison service, and the politicians. God says they are under that umbrella. Understand? So if you're a politician, you find yourself fighting the military, fighting the CIOs, fighting the police, you will have a problem. Now, let me clarify that one. I'm not saying that you cannot criticize the police, you cannot criticize the intelligence, you cannot criticize the military. But it is within the framework of your human rights. You know, you've got the rights you've got the freedom of speech, right? We have, okay. But all of those freedoms of speech, even the Constitution says that, Lord, freedom of speech Constitution, you only enjoy it is up to the extent to which the state umbrella allows it, which is the military. If they do not allow it, you will not have freedom of speech. But then it is their decision. Then God goes to this point to say that it is their decision, therefore, to either create a successful state or a failed state. A failed state is when the military and the Central Intelligence Office organization, the police and the prison services, there is a breakdown of relationship first between them, the breakdown of relationship, which I suspect is what is happening in Zimbabwe. There mustn't be a breakdown in relationships so much to the extent that they fight each other. When they fight each other, they are actually destroying the sovereignty of the state. The nationhood, that which makes Zimbabwe is destroyed when you will see the military fighting with the Central Intelligence Organization. We know that, we heard that, I read somewhere, I wish I would quote that person, but then I can't now, that during the 2007 coup, or some people call it a coup, don't quote me on that, they say that the Air Force and the military was fighting against the Central Intelligence Organization. Remember that they said that the Central Intelligence Organization was aligned to Robert Mugabe, and the police also aligned to Robert Mugabe. But the Air Force and the Air Force and the National Army were aligned to Chiwenga and Emerson Mnangagwa. Now, essentially, that's a civil war within this umbrella body I told you about, that which is the state. Which God said to me that must never happen. There mustn't be a war there, because if there is a war there, the statehood, the sovereignty is finished. To understand? Don't worry about the politicians now, because we always talk about ZANU-PF. Actually, now I'm getting to the background. It's not just about ZANU-PF. It's about the organizations themselves, the military, the CIOs, the police. Well, I feel like the Lord is concentrating more on the CIO and the army. If there is a civil war between those two, I'm telling you, that which you call Zimbabwe is over, because that which is Zimbabwe is the military, the CIO, the police, and the prison services. Finish and clear. Leave the ZANU-PF. Politics is another issue. We never finish. Politicians always have arguments. Leave the politicians. Those ones on top there. Get a fight between the Central Intelligence Organization and the Air Force. There is no Zimbabwe anymore. Ramaphosa might just as well as say, there's a crisis in Zimbabwe. Let's send the South African National Defense Force to maintain order in Zimbabwe. Do you know what that means? It means taking over. I've been telling you in my other videos, if you watched, that the Lord has been showing you about possible military attacks in Zimbabwe. This could lead to that if there is a war between the army and the Central Intelligence Organization. There will be no Zimbabwe. I'm telling you that God said to me, son, Zimbabwe is that. Without that, there is no Zimbabwe. We might as well just be invaded by another country, and then SADC will come in, because those guys are very clever. They are political diplomats. They will come as SADC and say that they want to intervene in the situation in Zimbabwe. But do you know what intervention means? It means that they're making us belong to another country. We're going to be a province of South Africa, or province of some SADC or whatever SADC protectorate. Who knows who the most powerful country in SADC is going to do with whatever they want to do with Zimbabwe. We're going to take over. And who knows what they plan to do. Maybe they are worse than what we have. So now God begins to show me that the economic and political problems in Zimbabwe has been fundamentally because of there's a problem there in the structure of Zimbabwe, in the military of Zimbabwe, in the Central Intelligence Organization of Zimbabwe, in the police of Zimbabwe. The problems that are in there, they show up in the politics. You understand? This whole thing of having G40 versus, what do they call them, the other ones, or the pro-ED, it's not stemming from the political ground only. It stems there from the top, from the CIO department and from the military. And God is saying that war must end. There must not be a war there. Because you'll be told, G40, they want to grace coming. No. The police, Central Intelligence Organization, Philip Valerius Banda, Ellison Moyo, Owen Ngobe, Isaac Moyo, Kwache, Kacha Mazitulela, TG Matanga. God says, put your house in order. Because if you do not put your house in order, there will be no Zimbabwe. God is relying on you to keep the country. And He's going to bless you and magnify you to a place so high and so elevated if you sort out and iron out your problems. And know that this is the Zimbabwe that is. And by the way, so the military, you are the one who is running the nation, not the politicians. The politicians are running the country under you. They work under you at your pleasure. And also the Lord said to me, son, the most powerful man in Zimbabwe is not Emerson Mnangagwa. The most powerful man in Zimbabwe is Philip Valerio Sibanda. Okay. And God had to discuss this thing of egos and whatever, because you know that Chiwenga was the army commander, but then he left that position to become the vice president of Zimbabwe because he wanted to be the president. Then God showed to me that, you know what, that is actually not a good decision, not a wise decision, because as the army general, you are the most powerful in the country. Nobody can say Nkloe. You are the powerful one. The whole power of the country is in the army general. Right now, the most powerful man in Zimbabwe is Philip Valerio Sibanda. That is why last month we were praying. I could not sleep. I could not sleep praying for Valerio Sibanda. I sleep in the morning. God comes with a mighty wave. Wake up. Pray for Valerio Sibanda. Spend the whole day praying for him. I do not know, somebody wanted to kill him. And God was using me to pray for him. Do you know why? Because God recognizes that he is Zimbabwe right now. Philip Valerio Sibanda. That's what God said to you. You are Zimbabwe. You are the country. As a person, when God looks at Zimbabwe, he looks at Philip Valerio Sibanda. Doesn't look at Emerson Mnangagwa. Emerson Mnangagwa is a political figure. It's for you people in the country. It is a propaganda for you people in the country to think Emerson Mnangagwa is the political face of the state of Zimbabwe. But the real head of the state of Zimbabwe is not Emerson Mnangagwa. It's Philip Valerio Sibanda. Which will confuse you, because it used to be Constantine Chiwenga, the head of the country of Zimbabwe, of the state of Zimbabwe. But then he left that head. He wanted to play garden boy. He's now vice president. He wants to be president. I do not know this reasoning, because the president is less powerful than the military. But God said something to me. He said, son, this thing is long, but we're building Zimbabwe. Even if it's more than an hour, it's fine. I'll take my time. Then God said, son, the army, the guys, the gentlemen that are in the army, they must know that they're the most powerful and the most fearful and they're the ugliest. So that ugly face is supposed to fight the enemy of the state, should not be seen to the people of the state. Understand? The people of the state must not see the face of the military. The military uses another face, which is called the political head. That political head is the president. So Emerson Mnangagwa is the face to be seen by the country, instead of the country seeing Philip Valerio Sibanda or Constantine Chivenga. That is why people have got a problem with Chivenga and his wife, because Chivenga has got a military heart, it's got a military mindset that God gave him. He is supposed to be in the barracks in the military with that ugly face. And I mean, by ugly face, I mean like, kind of like, you're not a nice guy. I don't care. As a military face. It's okay. It's created by God for that for a particular purpose, to be in the barracks and be the most powerful man in the country in the barracks. That is what God meant for Constantine Chiwenga to become our army commander, which is the powerful, most highest office in the country, the most important. So the Spirit of the living God was supposed to stay there. Now, when it comes, the military is not trained to be politicians. See, the politicians are trained to be cocky, to smile, look nice in front of the people, to please the people. The politicians are people pleasers. Hence, this is the idea of democracy. That is where democracy is coming from. The democracy is, this is literally what democracy is coming from. The democracy is meant to make the military head to look nice. Because there's no military head who's nice anyway. And they're not supposed to be nice. Okay? God created military heads not to be nice. That is why Chiwenga is doing that thing to Mary Chiwenga. God is talking to you. They are not meant to be nice people. Those people are not nice at all. And they're not supposed to be nice. They are good not to be nice. Well, that's who they are. But they must stay there in the barracks where that face, which is not nice, must not be seen by the people. Jonathan Moyo says also in this interview that people in the army do not like to hold interviews. And he says that Valerio Sivanda, when you are interviewing him, they will give you the questions you must ask him. And then he was speaking of it in a negative light. Then God said to me that no, he is wrong. The military, the guy who's in military must not be all over the newspapers, must not be talking to everybody. In fact, the military is right by sending questions to the reporters, because to protect the state of a country, you need a military head who is out of the news. You need a military head who doesn't want to be a celebrity. You see, the president of the country is the guy who wants to be known, popular, didn't power, I'm powerful. That's the nature of those people. They must be politicians. The military head is a guy who is not who's not a celebrity, who's not your friend. He stays in the holy of holies of the country. Oh God. He is not seen. In the Old Testament, you see the presence of God. You're talking about the Ark of the Covenant. Only the priest, only the high priest will go to see the Ark of the Covenant. Not anybody, otherwise you die. That is what the military is. That is who Philip Valerio Sibanda is to Zimbabwe. Sacrosanct position. That is the most sacrosanct position in the nation, is to become the army general, the army commander, Philip Valerio Sibanda. Therefore, it means you have got a tremendous amount of responsibility. That is why God has to keep you at the background, because you can't be making decisions because of what the politicians are doing, the politics of the country. The politics of the country, all the politicians of the country must save Philip Valerio Sibanda. All of them, Chamisa, MTC, Tizano PF, all of them, they must be saving Philip Valerio Sibanda. And Philip Valerio Sibanda is leading Ellison Moyo, leading Isaac Moyo, leading Concrete TG Batanga, leading MCN Chihovu. And all these people that he is leading, they're in the background, in secret. There's a reason why the Central Intelligence Organization is called the Secret Police. It's supposed to be in secret for a reason. In their secretive place, that is where they keep the country safe. That is what they are, the country. Basically, what you call Zimbabwe is them. But they mustn't want to be celebrated. To be in that position, you must not like the limelight. You must not like to be respected. You must not like to be seen and be known and be all over the place. No, you must be a reserved guy. It's like a judge. You know, judges, they're not always on the newspaper. They're not always like having interviews or drinking liquor or whatever. Because that's a sacrosanct position. It's another position we'll talk about in other videos. But today we're talking about the most important and sacrosanct and fearful position in Zimbabwe is Army General Philip Valero Sibanda. He's the one who is leading the nation with a gun. Yes, he's leading the nation with a gun. So that is a very ugly and fearful face. So God says that face must not come to the public. So that God says that Philip Chiwenga was not supposed to be vice president. Philip Chiwenga is not supposed to be the president of Zimbabwe because his face is supposed to be in the barracks. You understand? But however, because we are human beings and we're dealing with politics, and maybe he's got the right anyway to do what he wants. I cannot say that he cannot do that. He cannot be president. He can. But however, if he's going to become president, he must now, therefore, this is what God says. This is a very important message to Chiwenga say from the Lord God Almighty. He said that if you want to be a president of Zimbabwe, you must be very careful now to shed off the image of an army general and put the image of a politician. And in politics, you're supposed to be nice to people. You're supposed to appeal to people. You're not supposed to have the ugly face. You must look nice. In politics, say, you cannot have Mary Chiwenga in hospital and those things happening that are happening to her, denying her good health outside the country. Yes, you have got the money, you can afford it. In politics, it's a big no. In the military, to be like, yes. If you ask your military friends if what you're doing to your wife is correct, they will say, yes, it's correct. And God will say, yes, it is correct militarily, as a military figure. But as a political head, not at all. Because in politics, it's about optics. The optics are not good politically. But militarily, they might look like, yeah, you're a strong man, bravado. If you ask the guys in the army, they say, you're doing right. That woman must know who you are. That's the army. That's the mindset of the army. But the mindset of the politics, you say, no. The opposite, it doesn't look right. The people can have the father of the nation doing that to the mother of the nation. Because remember, Mary Chiwenga is the second lady of the nation. You can't be doing that. Politically speaking, it's a big no. You're going to have the Holy Spirit fighting with you. Because the Holy Spirit says, I must tell you, he loves his boys. He loves his political boys, politicians. He calls them his boys, his politicians. So these boys in politics are all of them saving the military, saving you, Constantine Chiwenga. If it was Robert Mugabe's days, you will be put in the Politburo bureau, so that we can still be relevant to Zimbabwe. I do not know why people want to be presidents. Because is it because people want to be relevant? But then if you are in military, you are relevant by the fact that you are a general. And you should not... I don't know why Mr. Chiwenga will want to expose himself to the political dynamics, because Mr. Chiwenga, Constantine Chiwenga wants to become a president. We have to vote for you. And you have to campaign. We are going to strip you naked. That's what happens if you want to be in politics. We will analyze you left, right, and center, up, down, left, right. We'll toss you around and what. That's what they do in politics. But they don't do that in the army. Because in the army, as an army general, nobody votes you into power. You are appointed there and you do as you do. Nobody criticizes you. But in politics, you'll be criticized. I don't think that is a good advice for Chiwenga to become even vice president. I do not know who gave him that advice. But anyway, God says that the ugly side of it in Zimbabwe is that when we have the military figures coming into politics, then you're going to have a problem, because first of all, God created the army face to be very ugly. And if you're trained all your life to have that ugly face, and then now you have to be in politics, it's going to be ugly in politics. The military is this is how the military and the CIO must do it. First of all, they must iron out that differences wherever they are. God didn't tell me. Whatever they are, if they iron them out, then they rope in all politicians under the military. And Professor Jonathan Moyo said that in the Politi Bureau. It's unfortunate that ZANU-PF was continuing as if we're a one-party state, yet the project of saying we're a democracy when we're actually one-party state by secret did not work out because MTC came into being. By the coming of MTC, it exposed the fact that we are lying. The propaganda was a lie. We're not a one-party state. We are claiming to be a democratic state, yet we're behaving like a one-party state. So the emergence of the MTC challenged that notion, and therefore the army made a mistake by not engaging the MTC into the Gwara, and they made a mistake by talking about this Gwara in the Politi Bureau of ZANU-PF. You see, it is supposed to be a structure which is outside ZANU-PF, a structure where the military can retire to, and politicians can go to learn the Gwara of the nation of Zimbabwe. Not within ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF therefore becomes one of the parties in Zimbabwe that are serving the interests of the military, which the military is Zimbabwe. You understand? So the military's miscalculation was that ZANU-PF there's only going to be the military on top, and then there's going to be, in politics, the political face will be ZANU-PF. I remember that they amalgamated with ZAPU in 1989. So which means that there was one state, one party. They thought that they are going to carry on with that mindset with one party. But yet, constitutionally, in the constitution still allowed multi-party democracy. But the military did not envision that there would be a powerful political force. They thought that they will use their force as the military to maintain that order. Yet, they should have... They were right by saying multi-party because banning other parties will be strangling other voices within the republic and will elicit a rebuttal from the international community. So they had to appease the international community by saying we're a multi-party state publicly in the public domain, which is the propaganda. But in reality, the military and ZANU-PF were operating essentially a one-party state. So they did not think that there would be something like the MTC that will emerge. Remember that the MTC emerged also during the time of the war veterans uprising, because I will say that remember that MTC. Oh God, I had to cut the video. Remember that the military did not envision that there would be another party like MTC to come. So MTC came. I wanted to remind you of Chanjerai Hunzi, the war veteran who essentially started a revolt within ZANU-PF, and that led to the 50,000, the massacre that were given to the war veterans, and the economy tumbled. And because of the tumbling economy and the dissatisfaction in the people, and the fact that we had a monopoly of political power, the power was monopolized around Robert Mugabe. You see, Robert Mugabe was not a military figure. Robert Mugabe was an agent of the military, is the political face. As I told you, that politicians are the agents of the military. Understand? So as the agent of the military, he had monopolized the political power, which was the problem. The military should have picked that up a long time ago. But anyway, wisdom is easy in hindsight. You're not going to blame them. But that's what I'm analyzing now. Hey, they picked up, right, and opened up the political spectrum. We were not going to have the problem in 2002. If Robert Mugabe began to fail economically, you would gonna have MTC Tsvangirai come in as a solution. But then the military was scared because the military and the Politburo, the place where the guys were teaching Kwarare Msangano, Kwarare Nyeka in the Politburo, it was stationed in ZANU-PF, which I'm saying that was the problem. That kind of apparatus should have been set outside ZANU-PF. Even though we had one party state, there was supposed to be an organ outside ZANU-PF, which is a meekly organ between the military, which is an interface between the military and the politics. Understand? Between the politics and the military, there must be an intermediary interface whereby you will have these retired army generals and people who are really holding the integrity of the country to be in there, right? And those people, they've got power. You never vote for them out of power. When they retire, they just go there. And that thing that Jonathan will talk about, the Politburo, what they're doing in the Politburo, they're supposed to do it in that organ, which is not aligned to ZANU-PF. Understand? Even though ZANU-PF was the most powerful party, there will still be ZANU-PF members, but they will be in that organ. That organ that they put in the Politburo, that was a mistake. It was supposed to be outside of ZANU-PF. Why? So that we can allow political competition. Understand? And that political competition, all those politicians will be under the military, all of them. So you see, the engagement was supposed to be done with Morgan Tsvangirai, so that Morgan Tsvangirai would subscribe to the Harare military. And we now know from what Professor is saying that Robert Mugabe really didn't even hold the power ever anyway. It was the military's power. But it was good for the military to make us think that Robert Mugabe is powerful, is controlling the army. In the army, they're charming. They call it they call the president the president of Zimbabwe and the what? And the first secretary of ZANU-PF, and then they call him commander-in-chief of the Zimbabwean Defense Forces. Bravo. Let me clap hands. Let me clap hands for the military intelligence. I want to clap hands. Unfortunately, I can't clap hands. I can't clap hands. My other hand is holding the phone. Military is that is one I'll give a 10 out of 10 to the military intelligence for calling the president of Zimbabwe head of the it makes the celebrity guy look good, because the president of Zimbabwe is supposed to be someone who wants to be seen out there to be a celebrity, essentially. You're not really building Zimbabwe, you're just the face. The Zimbabwe is the military and the CIO and the police and the prison service. Those guys together, the J.O.C, that is Zimbabwe. Don't think that God is going to change that. No matter how much you pray, God is not changing that. That's what it is. That is the nation. The celebrity, who is the president, is the one in the army intelligence, that is a stroke of genius. Call the president the commander of the defense forces of Zimbabwe. Yet we know that he is not. He's just like a weak guy. He's just a political appointee. Really, the real power is in the military. So politicians must know that the gun actually comes first before the pen, and the pen is serving the interest of the gun. But the gun is supposed to be people of a certain characteristics. Those people can determine whether the country is going forward or going backward. So politicians, you don't even have waste your time fighting the securocrats. You cannot, you should not. In fact, you should be worshipping them. Okay, not in that literal sense, but you must be revering them. They are the sacrosanct part of our nation. So now, the guys in the army and the Central Intelligence Organization and the others, they must make sure that the politicians, all of them, fall under the framework of Zimbabwe. Current politicians and the opposing politicians, these alternative governments, so that we will achieve one-party state that way. I'm telling you, another clever idea. The Americans are doing it. Is there a multi-party democracy in the United States? That's a nice question. The answer is yes and no. But the yes is a big it's a resounding yes. The system works because they've got the Democrats and the Republicans. So there is competition. The third force, it will be difficult to start a third party in America, because now those two parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, together they are in cohorts to make sure that they keep the power to them. Even though they say that, no, America is a democracy, we're a multi-party democracy. Pause. Zimbabwe made a mistake by saying we're a multi-party democracy, and then the military, which is the nation, takes all of its interest in one party, ZANU-PF. They should have diversified, and the interest of the nation must be in all the parties that are competing in the political landscape. ZANU-PF, MDCT, MDCM, Triple C, Tonton, and my party also, SITA. They all together. All of them must be learning the Harare Nyika from the military and the Central Intelligence Organization. There must be a good relationship between all political organizations and the military and the CIO and the police and the prison services. That is how Zimbabwe is going to grow. This is how God showed to me that if for Zimbabwe to grow, there must be a good relationship between all these political parties. Must have a good relationship with the general. Philip Valerio Sivanda must have a good relationship with Emerson Mnangagwa, good relationship with what's his name, Nelson Chamisa, good relationship with the Komichi and Thokozani Kupe, all those politicians. They must be kissing his feet. You know, the Director General of the CIO, Isaac Moyo, and Ukasha Mastulera must be having cordial relationships with everybody across the parties. Do you know why? If that happens, you are not going to have election rigging and election violence, because the rigging essentially is done for the one client. Because the military and the CIO, they've got one client, which is ZANU-PF. So now they fight each other because they are fighting for that one client, which is ZANU-PF. What must be happening is that they must be having multiple clients: ZANU-PF, MTC, CCC, and SITA. My part. Okay, hello. So that when we are holding elections, it does not matter who is going to win. Because whoever is going to win, ari under Harare nyika iri rine makompretse akarwira nyika in this structure that is an interface between the military and the political figures. That Harare nyika there is make sure that is to put in order all politicians. That does not matter which party you are from, but you are all under one Harare nyika from Zimbabwe. And then the military people can leave the politicians to argue with the reporters on TV, and just like the Americans, they won't argue, they destroy each other there on the television, whoever wins the vote wins. In that way, then you can have a democracy whereby therefore the people are going to vote for whoever they think they must be in power, but then the military has already vetted everybody else who is in competition there, and everybody else there is within Harare nyika. Even if there's 5 people who are in contesting in the elections, it does not matter who wins. So the military in the barracks, they can sleep on the night of the elections, not worried who's gonna win, not worried if ZANU-PF is going to lose, because they do not mind whoever is going to win. I don't understand that Harare nyika is not gonna be act out of line. And I suggest that that thing is, it mustn't be in the Politburo of ZANU-PF. It must go out. It must be, we must be meeting in maybe twice a year, meeting in the farm of Robert Mugabe's farm there, and we have these people and politicians talking. Another time meeting in Solomon Churo's farm there, and meet and talk nationhood. The people that hold the power of the country: Philip Valerio Sivanda, Ellison Moyo, Ngoba Isaac Moyo, Kacha Mazethulela, Walter Mafumane, Congress Tichi Matanga, MCN Chihomvu, and the politicians discussing nationhood. There you don't go there and fight each other. There is where you put the country intact. Then after that, you go out to TV now, attack each other. Politicians, not the military. The military do not even enter in that. The military only enter to say, okay, this is our nation. Okay. That is how we can solve the problem of election re-engineering. Because the military took over the election. Because it's the people that are holding the power of the country in their hands, right? They cannot allow agents or perceived agents, let me just put it that way, perceived agents of foreign interests holding the power. You understand? Now, I know that there's propaganda, right? Okay. I'm going to tread careful on this one. That's why I said perceived agents. That doesn't actually really mean that in reality there are agents of the NN. No, sometimes it's just a political statement just to get votes, that's just to sway the public. But in reality, they're just disenfranchised Zimbabweans that are rising, forming their own political party. They're not sponsored by the West. Okay, even if the West gives the money, But you see, them as the children of Zimbabwe, the West might be much clever than them, using them against the nation, the sovereignty of the nation, but them without them knowing, them thinking that they are fighting for their own country. So therefore, if you are the military, do not beat them up. Do not show them your ugly face, because God created you with that ugly face of the military of the country. Do not show that country them, because they do not know what they are doing. Father, forgive them. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. Understand where Jesus is coming from. You see, so military, forgive the opposition, forgive the people of Zimbabwe for doing what they're doing, for they do not know what they do. They do not know that if you are in your mind thinking that they're saving the interests of the foreign governments or whatever, them, they do not know that they're doing it because they just want jobs. They don't want to remove ZANU-PF because they hate ZANU-PF. No, those that want to remove ZANU-PF are they're just individuals within this framework of the nation of Zimbabwe that want a change through democratic means, because they want the economy to be better. I think it is in the interest of the military and the intelligence organization to have the economy functioning better in Zimbabwe, right? Yes. So even the people as well of Zimbabwe that are fighting ZANU-PF, that are supporting Chamisa, I'm talking with those people that support the opposition and other oppositions. They are also interested, and the interests of the military and ZANU-PF are in line. So you must understand this thing. That just like Jesus said, forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they're doing. So I'm saying to Philip Valerius Band, forgive them, Baba, for they do not know what they are doing. Yes, you'll be thinking that these people are selling the country to the foreigners, but in their minds, that's not what they are thinking. They do not know. They do not know. So, Baba, if the mistake that I'm not want to say when the is a mistake, but what am I going to say? What word can I use? I want to say that Philip Valerius Subanda, the era or something that we do not recognize is that these children of Zimbabwe, these so-called MTC children of Zimbabwe, they're supposed to be oriented within the framework of what you are building, of what you are holding in your hands. So that which you are holding, if you incorporate them, they will understand. Therefore, they will be enlightened. Once they are enlightened, therefore, they will campaign and do whatever they want, but we'll be knowing that, okay, we are all together in this one thing together. Thus says the Spirit of the living God. God said, I must stop here for now for this part 1. We're going to have a part 2. Thank you, Zimbabwe. My name is Ngobani Zondo. I had to explain this thing because the Lord gave me this message, and I haven't exhausted all the points that the Lord gave me. I will finish off in the part 2. Thank you.